with the WWF crew waking up in Houston, Texas on the morning of September 11th to the news of the attacks. The circumstances led to the scheduled SmackDown taping on the night, along with most touring acts and major sports leagues in the country, to either be cancelled or postponed to a later date. And with the crew stranded in Houston after driving from Raw in San Antonio the previous night, the decision was made by Vince McMahon on Wednesday afternoon to run the show in the same building 2 days later on Thursday night, opening it in a patriotic promo announcing the live SmackDown on September 13th as the first public assembly of its size since the tragedy of Tuesday to start one of the most unique broadcasts in company history, followed by Lillian Garcia singing the national anthem in front of the entire roster and staff members on stage, with JR putting storylines aside, noting that for one night all WWF and Alliance members will join forces to pay respect and entertain the audience in a show booked as a standalone program with no pay-per-view hype or advancement of TV angles. The show, which was most similar in its format to the Owen Hart Tribute Raw show in May '99, featured a series of out-of-character interviews with wrestlers and staff members talking about the tragedy of Tuesday to either identify or lift the spirits of the watching audience as an escape from the reality of the past 48 hours, with Linda McMahon in a company press release explaining the decision to run the show, noting that after discussions with local officials in Houston they have decided that the show should go on, saying that the WWF support the call by the president to get back to their everyday routines, which SmackDown is part of, with Jim Ross commenting on the decision in his weekly website report, saying that after speaking with company officials, TV executives and local politicians, the decision was made to go with the show on Thursday, as the TV broadcast, which aired in SmackDown's original time slot on Thursday night between 8 to 10 p.m. for the first time since August 30th after last week airing on Tuesday, saw the show, despite being preempted in major markets such as Boston and Minneapolis, along with the biggest one in New York, which took away significant reach to potential viewership, holding up strong to jump over 1 million viewers over last week to draw a 3.7 rating with over 6.3 million viewers, going against the 24-hour news coverage on all major networks, which on Thursday between all the channels combined for a 64 rating. While in the building, despite the possible reluctancy of people for big crowd gatherings amid the constant reports of further attacks, the show sold out the Compaq Center in Houston with over 13,000 people. The wrestling card for the night resembled more a televised house show event than a WWF TV product, with most of the babyfaces going over, including Rock doing his post-match house show routine on television, with the TV main event seeing Kurt Angle vs. Rhyno going 5 minutes, with Angle going over to close the broadcast, with Angle leading the crowd in USA chants, as the biggest match of the night took place minutes later, with the company giving the live crowd an unadvertised special attraction, as after the TV broadcast went off the air, Steve Austin came out to issue an open challenge which brought Rock back out to the ring, with the Rock vs. Austin main event going around 20 minutes before the Dudleys ran out for the DQ in the same finish of their recent house show matches, ending up with Rock laying out Austin and hold both world title belts to send the crowd off, with Raw on Monday set to go back to the usual format with Unforgiven 10 days away. With the company trying to get back on track 6 days after the tragedy with the new restrictions in the country, most of the WWF crew, which was stuck in Houston since arriving there early morning last Tuesday due to them unable to book flights back home, drove straight from Houston to tonight's Raw in Nashville without going back, as even with no house shows scheduled this week, the majority of the roster, other than the ones who lived in or near Texas and were able to drive home after SmackDown on Thursday night, continued on the road since last Saturday straight into the new week of TV tapings starting tonight, with most either unable to fly home in time or won't be able to stay there long enough before needing to get back on the road again for Raw. not wanting to risk missing the show with the WWF as a touring company facing the new reality and looking to plan around it without knowing when things go back to normal, as Undertaker, who missed SmackDown in his hometown of Houston last Thursday with a shoulder injury, opened Raw with the returning Kane in a WWF Tag Titles match against the Dudleys to set up the Taker and Kane vs. Kronik pay-per-view match on Sunday, ending up with Kronik interfering to cost them the match, with Raw opening higher than usual with a 4.2 rating. With the unusual preparation for the show and the road schedule leading up to Monday, with Raw looking to get back to the usual TV product with Unforgiven 6 days away, the show saw more bell-to-bell ring time than usual, with no big promo segments or major angles on the night, as after the 7-minute opening tag titles match, Raw followed with Jeff Hardy vs. Lance Storm going 6 minutes. With most of the big names who are set for the top 3 matches on Sunday all booked in advertised matches saved for the second hour, with the unusual format also seeing one of the most unusual viewing patterns on an unopposed Raw broadcast in a long time, with the show peaking already during the second half hour of the show between 9:30 to 10 p.m., jumping big from the start of the show with over 1.1 million viewers to a 5.1 rating already in the third quarter, featuring Saturn vs. Stasiak, followed by the payoff of the Saturn lost mop angle with Raven and Terry putting it through a wood chipper, with Booker T and Shane McMahon coming out moments later in a warm-up handicap match to the title match against Rock on Sunday, picking Taz as the opponent to go 6 minutes, with them going over to another 5.1 rating just before the top of the hour, as Raw, which in the last month faced an unwanted turnaround in its normal viewership growth throughout the show, with the second hour routinely sliding after peaking midway through the night, again attempted to reverse the trend by booking the top 2 matches of the night, with Rock against Test and Stephanie and Austin and Van Dam against Angle and Jericho to go back-to-back at the end of the broadcast after advertising them from the opening minutes. Another consequence of the past week saw the WWF's 2 weekend TV shows being changed, with the Excess show format on Saturday being changed and Heat on MTV on Sunday being cancelled for the week, with the show usually being hosted from the WWF New York Club in Times Square, with Excess featuring mostly a recap of SmackDown from Thursday, with Michael Cole and Al Snow hosting the show, saying that the usual hosts Coach and Trish were not able to make it due to travel complications, airing highlights from the SmackDown matches and interviews to viewers who potentially could not see the show on Thursday due to it being preempted in several major markets for news coverage, including in New York, with one of the big topics of conversation coming out of the SmackDown show, which got positive reviews across the board, being Stephanie McMahon's comments cluelessly comparing the 9/11 attacks to her family's legal battle with the US government a few years back, leading to major criticism, with the company not replaying the interview back on Saturday, with more TV scheduling issues seeing the final 2 episodes of Tough Enough being postponed by a week to September 20th and 27th. And with Raw tonight and SmackDown tomorrow coming from his hometown area in Memphis, Jerry Lawler reportedly attended the show to lead to major speculation on his return in the near future, with him still officially signed for the Vince Russo-booked World Wrestling All-Stars Tour in Australia next month, with promotion and advertising going into overdrive in the past week, with a press conference in Australia and Bret Hart, Bagwell Road Dogg and Stevie Ray promoting the tour, with Bret on several talk shows clarifying his role on the tour, saying that he won't be able to wrestle due to injuries and would be there more as the honorary commissioner. Rock made his first appearance on the show at 10:38 p.m. to kick off the two main event matches of the night, saved for the final 20 minutes of the broadcast into the overrun, on a rare show with barely any promo time from Rock and Austin, with the WWF putting on a more routine-by-the-book show tonight under the circumstances, with mostly straight wrestling with over 45 minutes of ring time in the 90 minutes commercial-free program. The second-hour drop, which the show formatting attempted to counter by saving the top matches for later in the night, took place again, with every quarter since 10 p.m. gradually dropping outside of the Rock vs. Test and Stephanie match, with Rock's Unforgiven pay-per-view preview handicap match going 9 minutes over 2 quarters to see Raw picking up over 400,000 viewers to a 4.9 rating in the only viewership bump of the second hour, ending up with interferences from Booker and Shane laying out Rock along with Test for him and Stephanie to go over in the heat angle building up the WCW title match on Sunday. After another show-long angle teasing tension between RVD and Austin, including Van Dam earlier in the night hinting at Alliance members coming to him for advice to place himself as Austin's possible successor as the leader of the group, Van Dam and Austin teamed up for the first time, with Austin despite being active full-time on SmackDown throughout, working his first match on Raw in over a month, going 9 minutes, crossing into the 6-minute overrun, which in a rare situation continued Raw's second-hour slide to drop slightly to a 4.8 rating, right at the show's average, with Raw overall jumping to its highest rated show in 3 weeks with a 4.8 rating, ending up with Angle pinning Austin clean for the finish to go over, with the Austin vs. Angle pay-per-view rematch set for 2 unique elements on Sunday, with one being the patriotic wave in the country under the circumstances, and the second being Angle going for the title as a babyface in front of his hometown crowd in Pittsburgh to potentially create a special atmosphere on the night.